Item 3, Oath of Allegiance or Formation of a new Senator.
I, Nolan Cox, do swear that I will faithfully bear true allegiance
if you don't want to say by God, you know.
I, Nolan Cox, do swear that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law, so help me God.
Welcome, Senator Cox.
Thank you.
Consequent upon the elections, which were held on the 23rd of June 2022, and in accordance with Section 28 and 34 of the Grenada Constitution Order, it has become necessary to elect a Deputy President of the Senate for the 11th Parliament of Grenada. Honorable members of the Senate, pursuant to Standing Order Number 4 of the Senate, I now invite nominations for the office of Deputy President. Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I beg to nominate Honorable Nolan Cox.
Thank you. Honorable Senator Lewis. Pardon.
Madam President, thank you very much. I just wish to rise on a point of order and your guidance. Consequent on Senator Nolan Cox's swearing in, I heard him swear to a position or an individual I think who may no longer be around, and therefore should it have been to the Queen or to the King, just as a point of order.
Thank you, Senator.
So he's saying,
Yes, it's all you can see.
the mic for a second.
Senator Joseph, good morning.
Madam President, good morning. Good morning, colleagues. I beg to associate myself with the matter raised by my learned colleague on the other side. Perhaps the oath might be retaken.
Thank you, Senator. Perhaps
So,
one
that
more
was
thing. Senator Cox, please indulge us.
I, Nolan Cox, do swear that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III, his heirs and successors, according to law, so help me God. Sign it. Yeah.
Thank you for your oath and your patience, Senator. We continue. We have a nomination for the Deputy President. Do we have a seconder? Honorable David Andrews.
Madam President, I beg to second that motion.
Honorable David Andrews has seconded. Is there any other nominations? There being no other, I now declare Honorable Nolan Cox Deputy President of the Senate.
I, Nolan Cox, do swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Deputy President without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and that in the execution of the functions of that office, I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of Grenada, so help me God.
Thank you, Deputy President, and welcome to the office. This is a relatively overwhelmingly new house of the Senate, and I open the floor for maiden speeches. Honorable Senator Gloria Thomas.
Madam President, I rise to address this honorable House. Let me take this opportunity to thank the government of Grenada and the people of St. Andrew Northwest for giving me this opportunity to serve. Let me congratulate my colleagues in this honorable House on both sides. Madam President, I pledge my commitment and loyalty in ensuring that the trust placed in me is never betrayed. To God be the glory. As He continues to provide the necessary guidance for this undertaking, and so I continue to depend on Him. Madam President, I stand here as a humble servant of the people of Grenada. I am Gloria Ann Thomas, a daughter of the village of Lafayette. And when I say a daughter of the village of Lafayette, I mean just that. Because I grew up in the era when the village raised the child. I was disciplined, corrected, and reported on by many adults in the community. And so, I was expected, as all children of my time, to be very circumspect with my behavior and respectful in how I conducted myself. I use the word circumspect in honor of my father today, Cletus Michael Thomas, because as a child, this was one of his regular words, and although I did not know what it meant, the context and the way he intoned, I knew he meant that I must be on my very best behavior at all times. Madam President, my life has always been a life of service. I've always been involved in community life. My life of service began when my parents allowed me to run errands for the elderly in the community and provide service like fetching water from the standpipe and sweeping the yard. I joined the Legion of Mary at about 9 years of age. My task was to pray the rosary and assist the elderly in my community. In my village, the elderly was keen on Cleto's daughter to assist them because she proved to be reliable, quick, and honest. I came back quickly from running errands and brought back the right change at all times. Madam President, this is the integrity that I inculcated as a child and has carried it into my adult life. Madam President, my primary school years were at St. Mary's Roman Catholic School, where I participated in sports and was on the school netball team. I proved to be a very good goal shooter at the primary level. But Mrs. Margaret Dow, in her wisdom, felt I could be a better goal defense, a position I played up until recently. I therefore understand what is teamwork, and I can effectively function as a member of a team to get the desired results. I therefore bring this understanding and experience to my team here to ensure that we take Grenada forward. At primary school, I did well in academics, but was never selected for common entrance until my parents made it a priority to question the principal at a PTA meeting as to why I was never selected. Unable to fully justify the reason for my non-selection, the principal reluctantly accepted me into the common entrance class. Madam President, it was my last opportunity to write that exams. And an exam was only 3 months away. With my father close monitoring of my performance and encouragement, I know I had to perform to raise his nose, as he often said. I applied myself diligently, took the exam, and was successful. I learned from that experience that if you are serious about any undertaking, you can apply yourself to make it happen. This is the attitude that I have brought with me when I was appointed to serve as a senator. And so I pledge to work to ensure that I play my part in the success of this government. I was assigned to the St. Joseph Convent, Grenville, where I was actively involved in school life. Netball, athletics, Club Espanol, Spanish Club, to name a few. Madam President, my life of service continued when I entered St. Joseph Convent. I joined the St. Vincent de Paul and was the first secretary of the St. Mary's Conference. Working to raise funds, visiting the sick and shut-ins in the community, and providing for the spiritual and material needs. I was given the opportunity to write GC level in Form 4, and since then, the St. Joseph's Convent has never offered any other group of students this opportunity. Graduating from high school, I returned to serve as a primary school teacher at my alma mater, St. Mary's RC, 10 years shy of 3 months. and then went on to work at the Ministry of Education, where I felt I could be of greater service to the education system. I have been serving in the Lions Club of St. Andrews for the last quarter century, albeit I have not been active for the last few years. Madam President, membership in the Lions Club has afforded me the opportunity to work, to serve, to fellowship, solve problems, develop tolerance, build relationship, and grow. This experience, Madam President, has certainly prepared me for today to undertake this task at hand. I served as a zone chairman and later as a region chairman, where I had responsibility of overseeing and guiding clubs in Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Union Island, and Grenada. I was the first Grenadian to hold the position as region chair for Lions Club International. I served on the district in various capacities. Madam President, serving is what I do best. I am here in this honorable house today because of my commitment to service and my pledge to make this world a better place, especially for the less fortunate. I am convinced that with the right support, services, and encouragement, our people can become more self-reliant. I feel privileged to be serving in a government that believes in change and transformation. I am of the firm view, Madam President, that our country can develop and become prosperous if we invest more in our people and in income-generating activities. I am dedicated in ensuring that the lives of our people improve. As a humanitarian, community organizer, child rights activist, and servant of the people, Madam President, I pledge to serve without fear or favor to take Grenada forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. A pleasant good morning to my fellow colleagues and our people here and in the diaspora. I begin in the name of God Almighty, the most gracious, the ever merciful. I am grateful to Almighty God for His mercies extended to me, my family, the business community, and our society as a whole. To the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce, to the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association, to the Grenada Employers Federation, to their boards, executive directors, and the nominating committee, I say thank you for the confidence placed in me to represent you in this Senate. By the mercy of my Maker, I do intend to do my very best to you, the private sector, and my country. I look forward to your counsel, your ideas, your solutions, and recommendations. We must realize that in service, it is impossible to please all, but my intention is one win at a time. If the private sector is the engine of growth, then government is the octane that can help the engine to run better. Madam President, right now, we need some high octane fuel to make that engine perform. Madam President, 3 months ago, I had no idea that I'd be standing here. I am humbled. Whoever is not grateful to the people is not grateful to the Maker of the people. Madam President, a little bit about my family and I. By the mercy of God Almighty, I come from a family of farmers and business people. My 4 parents on my mother's side came to Grenada sometime in the 1800s, late 1800s. Their livelihood was primarily based on working the land. When my great-grandfather James Bowler died at only 32 years old, my grandmother Joyce was taken out of primary school to assist with the family duties and work in the land. My grandmother did her very best to raise her only child and sent my mother, Miss Clary Bowler, to live with her family in St. George's, the Ali family, to go to school there. There she attended St. George's Anglican High School and then went on to work at the Grenada Cooperative Bank, or Penny Bank, as we know it. Madam President, my father, Mr. Azam Rahman, came to Grenada at the age of 19 in 1967. He was brought here by his grandfather, S.M. Jalil, from Trinidad, to work in the family-owned business Federal Investments Limited, otherwise known as Red Spot Beverages, Red Spot soft drinks. Some years later, in 1971, my father and his older brother Bobby founded a tire mart on Tyrrell Street, St. George's, by the name of Bobby's Tire Mart. In 1984, my father branched off on his own to open a retreading tire company named Spiceal Retreaders. His experience in service, business, and my mother's experience in banking came in handy. Through service, my father came to know a man by the name of Mr. Ralph Dungan, a U.S. diplomat during the JFK presidency. Mr. Dungan asked my father to be the country head for International Executive Service Corps in Grenada. IESC is a leading U.S. non-profit organization that fosters private sector development in the economically developing world. Through this organization, in the mid-80s, my father was able to bring in retired professionals and technical know-how to assist businesses, local businesses, to scale up. Mentorship, Madam President, mentorship is so very important. Businesses such as Blue Danube Bakery, High-Tech Printery, Spiceal Retreaders Limited, among others, were able to benefit from this mentorship at a fraction of the cost. Madam President, government must provide the enabling environment for businesses to grow. Case in point, Spiceal Retreaders was given manufacturers' concession in the mid-80s to bring in raw materials. But when government changed, the next administration took those concessions away. And that simple decision by government caused the collapse of the entire retreading operation. The entire plant was shut down and never restarted to date. Thousands upon thousands of invested dollars were lost. Oftentimes, politicians may not have a business background and don't fully understand what businesses need to thrive. Other times, it can be poor political decision-making made at the expense of business people and the economy as a whole. Madam President, my early education was at Westmoreland School. I was fortunate to be taught by a very stern English lady, Miss Beryl Ball. And then in secondary school by Miss Lindona Webster, principal of the secondary school then, and other great teachers to whom I am grateful. Unlike my brothers who attended PBC, my entire education was at Westmoreland School, early education. After secondary school, I attended Caldwell University, a Catholic university of the Dominican tradition. During summers, I would come back home to work as a service tech in the yard, repairing tires, installing batteries, driving the truck to the dump, whatever I needed to do to learn the ins and outs of the business. That allowed me to learn. I then worked as a clerk and then as an assistant manager doing the daily banking and balancing on evenings. Upon graduating from university with a degree in business management and marketing, I was asked to return to Grenada in 1998 to join the family company. In 1999, I was transferred to Grenville to manage our new outlet that was opened there. As manager, one of my duties was to open and close the business, so I had to leave from True Blue to get to Grenville before 8 o'clock, 6 days a week. I think that was my father's way of teaching me some discipline. Madam President, young men need discipline. They really do. After almost 3 years in Grenville, I was brought down to head office in Frequentia to head the marketing department. During this time, I began to serve on boards and clubs. Madam President, I learned early that part of service to mankind is service to God Almighty. Also, that service on boards and clubs were a shortcut to professional development, learning, and networking with others, even if it was for fun. I served on clubs and boards such as the Grenada Motor Club for over 5 years as a hobby. I worked with others in the auto industry to bring racing to Grenada, to take racing off the streets and bring it to the track at Pearls. We brought in cars from all over the region as far as Antigua. For years, this had a positive impact on local tourism as hundreds of people would flock to Pearls over the weekend several times a year. Grenada benefited from regional tourism as well, as we would host a regional event once per year. Back then, a ticket to Trinidad, from Trinidad to Grenada, was only $100 on Caribbean Star. Madam President, economic activity, the point is, booms when travel is constant and affordable. I served on the board of the Grenada Bureau of Standards for 2 years. There, I helped to change and improve the regulation as it relates to tire standards in Grenada, ensuring that all tires brought into Grenada were first quality tires and not blemished or second quality tires. After noticing several accidents in the region, including a fatal crash in Guyana of a bus in Guyana, we worked to improve the tire standards such that every tire sold in Grenada today must pass international standards and must clearly bear international quality marks such as the E mark, European mark, or the DOT, the US quality mark. Madam President, I have served on the board of management of Westmoreland School for 6 years and also as its chairman. My goals were 3: to ensure that the school was on a strong financial footing. With limited income for schools, private schools, the school was burdened with significant debt after the result of rebuilding after Hurricane Ivan. Madam President, by the time I left the school, the loan balance was under $50,000 and the amount in the bank was triple that. I believe, like many private schools, however, after COVID, they would have their share of difficulties currently. To ensure that the morality of the school's constitution was maintained, an order of business was to get the sale of alcohol off the school compound during school events, for sports meets, and for fairs. I thought that it was wrong to have children winning a bottle of rum for their parents at a ring toss during a school event. Parents need to lead by example. And 3, to strengthen the education system, to pay teachers as much as we could afford to attract the best educators for our children. Madam President, I've served for 9+ years and continue to serve at the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I currently serve as the first Vice President, and I did not want to leave the Chamber to do this service because I wanted to be directly involved, not receive reports from the private sector, but be involved so that I know firsthand what are the issues. The JCIC is the oldest active private sector organization in Grenada. I've had the privilege to work with 3 executive directors, Christopher DeRiggs, Hazelland Hutchinson, and Pettifer Lewis Smith. The initiatives and projects that we embarked upon are too numerous to mention. One such was the implementation of VAT, consultation on VAT. Another is to build bus shelters across the country, which would provide shelter for citizens and a means of income for the chamber. Madam President, I've served in charity events, the Grenada Islamic Foundation, and the wider community. After Hurricane Ivan, we chartered an entire vessel, Ocean Princess, to bring relief items to Grenada for the benefit of the people in Calice, Frequenté, and so forth. Madam President, I continue to give some of my time and service in marriage counseling. By God's mercy, I've been married for 20 years, and counting. And community service. I've worked with other local religious leaders over the years through the Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs, at the request of government, including during the COVID-19 period, to discuss matters of burial, community service, mental and spiritual health. Madam President, I became the managing director of Spicer Automotive in 2009, and I serve in this capacity currently. Although now much of my time is spent out of that company, change is constant. Madam President, I give these examples of varied service as a means of encouragement for us to get up and get as a people, especially our men. Look at the example of the prophets of God Almighty. We cannot separate morality from leadership. God Almighty did not do that when he sent messengers to mankind. Madam President, if we were to reflect upon some of the trials that we as a people have been through just in the last 50 years, our struggle for independence, 1974, the revolution, 1979, the intervention, 1983, Hurricanes Ivan and Emily, the recession of 2009 to 2012, the COVID-19 virus, the resulting world recession, and the current inflation, change of value of money, trial after trial. Finally, Madam President, when a child falls down, even though the child is hurt, that child gets back up. That, Madam President, is our determined spirit. And that has been hardwired into us by our Maker, our Creator. God Almighty never promised us that this life would be paradise. This life is hard work, and leading this country is hard work. The more we unite as a people for a common benefit, the more we can break down the artificial walls that divide us, the more successful we can become. In unity there is strength, and when we do disagree in this house, it must be based on our differences on the issues and not disdain for one another, and always with respect for one another. I thank you.
I thank Senator Rahman. And next. Thank you, Senator Lacrette. You're at the mic. Please deliver.
Madam President, thank you. Senatorial colleagues in this honorable house, good morning to everyone, and to the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. I want to draw the attention of this honorable house to 1 Samuel chapter 17. I want to draw your attention to that chapter because the narrative speaks of a shepherd boy called David and a giant called Goliath, or better known as a Philistine. The microscope is not on Goliath this morning, but the microscope is on David, simply because his presence in the fight was questionable. His presence in the fight was questionable because David came at a very obscure time when Israel and the Philistines were warring against each other for territory, for dominance. At that particular point in time, his father sent him to bring supplements to his brother. And what David saw was army against army. The battle was in array. And at that particular juncture, David decided, seeing that the army of Israel had no one to fight for their cause, he, a shepherd boy, was going to step in and defend his generation, and defend his people, and defend the cause. And rightly so. David said to his elder brothers, Madam President, is there not a cause? When they questioned his stature and questioned his motive for being in the fight, he said to them, is there not a cause? And I say to you this morning, Madam President and fellow senatorial colleagues, that there is a cause for parliamentarians, senators like myself, to enter into the political arena to champion the cause for the voiceless. The microscope is on David this morning again because he dared to have a voice for a generation that would have died if Goliath had his way. Madam President, the voice of inclusion, the voice of equity, and Madam President, the voice of humanity. What I bring to the political arena is a recapture of humanity in politics. A son of the soil, proud son of George and Laureen Lacrette, and I'm always proud to say that my mother is a Guyanese national, so I have a bit of a Caribbean mix going on where my heritage is concerned. Madam President, this morning as I stand in this discourse of my maiden speech, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the people of St. George Northwest, who decided that they were going to ensure that they go out on election day and vote for me. I want to express sincere thanks to them, and I also want to let them know that by no stretch of the imagination will their representation be appointed in my candidacy for St. George Northwest. As I bring humanity in politics, Madam President, I bring it with a sense of urgency, I bring it with a sense of pride, and I bring it with a spirit of excellence to this excellent team that I'm a part of, who have pledged to move Grenada forward. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Senator.
Thank you, Madam President.
Senator the Honourable Douglas.
Thank you. Pleasant good morning to all. Madam President, it is with great enthusiasm, humility, and courage that I rise in this honorable house to make my maiden speech as a young professional and as a powerful woman representing the opposition team led by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. However, I also feel obligated to represent every Grenadian who feels voiceless, vulnerable, and the many who have lost hope. Madam President, I am extremely honored to be allowed to serve as a senator for my country, and I chose the word serve deliberately, because service is the highest calling and must always be our watchword before self and before party. Madam President, I am sure that I am not the only new member sitting in this honorable house to have wondered at some point over the last few weeks or months how on earth I ended up in the political bubble. Madam President, please allow me to inform this honorable house why I ended up in this so-called bubble. Looking back, reminiscing, I have realized that after serving in the capacity of a manager in my chosen career and interacting with hundreds of employees for several years, I have since found my purpose and inspiration, which is being a servant of the world's most valuable asset, people. Madam President, I am fully aware that politics means, or should mean, serving people with different ideals, expectations, and aspirations, and it is hard work. That is if we take the assignment seriously and selflessly. I also know that I have a lot to learn, but I acknowledge and I accept that this is one of the major forums through which I can help to provide hope to our people. Madam President, I come from humble beginnings. I have an understanding of what it's like sometimes not having food on the table, not having a proper shoes on my feet, and being laughed at, eating split pea soup with weevils, and earning a salary as low as $800 a month before any deductions in my first job. Madam President, this is no exaggeration. This was my reality. I understand the struggle because I lived it and I have not forgotten my roots. Sadly, there are too many who are still in that position, striking in an endless circle of poverty. We must support them in every way possible and should never insult their callous state by broadcasting their getting handouts. The Bible says that the poor will always be with us, and we will be judged as people based on how we treat them. Madam President, I therefore intend to use my time in this honorable House, under the guidance of my leader, the support of team members, and any well-meaning Grenadians at home and at abroad to help with formulations of policies, enhancement of ideas, and implementations of structures in any area when the opportunity presents itself. I will always be open to meaningful suggestions and constructive criticism, and I will always put my best foot forward. Madam President, allow me to say with no apology that I am committed to supporting policies and programs aimed at ensuring that our nation's children attain a better education through different learning concepts, partaking in current programs geared at boosting their moral, character building, empowerment, and development. The upliftment of our nation's children has a very special place in my heart, and every opportunity I would endeavor to make a positive and impactful contribution in this area. Madam President, we cannot ignore the fact that there are a lot of broken youth in our nation today, and as the great Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world. Madam President, we all can agree that our education system should be geared towards producing world-class human capital and should be combined with our nation's financial capital investment, along with improved infrastructure. That is what a 21st century new economy must look like. Madam President, I enter this honorable House at a time when we are faced with serious challenges as a nation and as a world. But I can confidently say that with the right attitude and noble intentions, teamwork, humility, professionalism, and openness, I do not doubt in my heart that we will be able to get through whatever challenges we are faced with as a country for the sake of our people. Madam President, our people deserve nothing but the best, and I will do my best to give them the voice that they deserve. I cannot promise them to win every battle, but together with my team and the Most High, we will fight every battle on their behalf for as long as we have the honor to be serving in this honorable House. Madam President, I therefore encourage my colleagues in this honorable House to please let us promote and exhibit respectful behavior and be good role models, especially to our young people. Let us concentrate on what we can do together. Let us use our energy, knowledge, and resources constructively to build our nation. We must respect the people of our communities who are looking for and expect guidance and leadership to always tell them the truth. Even sometimes the truth hurts and disappoints. Let us now look beyond the election and party colors in our decision making and be authentic, decent, and genuine in our intentions. Let us build trust and respect for each other. Let us unite in partnership for the greater good, making a joint commitment to make this 11th session of Parliament a memorable one. Let us be the change that our people in the past, present, and future want to see. Madam President, in closing, I would like to leave two quotes. The first one is for the people who are trying to have a better life, but everything seems impossible. This quote is from Chadwick Boseman, the movie star of Black Panther, and I quote, "The struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose." Madam President, the second quote is for us leaders in this honorable House who are charged to represent the people of our nation in different capacities. Let us lead like Princess Diana, and I quote, "I lead from the heart, not the head." Madam President, despite the challenge of our age, with a broad back and a stiff spine and boundless optimism, I look forward to working with everyone in this honorable House and the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Douglas. Thank you. Honorable Senator Claudette Joseph, senior movement.
Madam President, colleagues of this honorable House, I rise today with great humility and indeed a well of emotion. I rise today first to thank God Almighty for life's journey that He has given to me so far, which has been a blessing all along. To acknowledge and to say thanks to my family, my siblings, but especially my mother of blessed memory, who we lost last year. My big sister, Ansela, and my other big sister, Sharon, Janelyn, Jacinta, and my brothers, Trevor, Fabian, my one little sister, Lynette, who actually, incidentally, is a parliamentary expert of sorts, serving the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My sister, Honorable Gloria Thomas, mentioned that she's the child raised by a village. The same is true for me. For my mother was a single parent, raising on her own 6 girls and 1 boy, the other boy having passed at the age of 10. And she did that without a formal education and oftentimes without a steady job. So it would have been impossible for all of us to have turned out the way we did without the support, material and in kind, of the village, the area where we were raised. And that is the area we commonly call the wharf. And I will describe the wharf borrowing the description used by my neighbor in his book, White Frock Coals Dust. And that's my neighbor, Lincoln Toro de Pradine. He describes the wharf as that area encompassing Tantine, Archibald Avenue, the Villa, the Carenage, H.A. Blaze Street, Green Street, Lucas Street, and anywhere that Angel Harps plays. So I'm a wharf girl. And that village raised me and produced the daughter of the soil standing here today. Elders others in the village, like Miss Mavis Fletcher, Mr. Carol Bristol and his wife, Ruth Bristol, Mrs. Beverly Steele, Miss Mary Depredine, who we all call Tan Chocho, Miss Mona Depredine, Pearl Phillip, Cynthia Raymond, I could call a whole set. They all helped my mother to take care of us and to ensure that we walked the straight and narrow. And luckily for us, we went, the girls, to the St. Louis RC Girls School, and then the St. Joseph's Convent, those of us who made it to secondary school. And in those two institutions, we got great guidance and counseling in the proper and decent way to conduct oneself from the Sisters of St. Joseph of Cluny, particularly Sister Gabrielle Mason and Sister Ann Keyes Douglas. And of course the teachers, my second mother, Louisa Chase Lewis. I mention these names particularly and specifically so that they may be recorded in the Hansard. These are the people who helped to guide and shape me. These are the people who assisted my mother when she was short on funds. Sorry. I'm sorry. I remember when Mr. Carl Bristol realized that I did well in school. He encouraged me to borrow any book I needed from his home library. He guided me on the subjects to choose if I wanted to become a lawyer. Thank you. And Mrs. Beverly Steele, who, when it appeared that I would not be able to complete my studies, found a way to help to ensure that I got my LLB degree. Because the difficulty was always, I performed excellently, but my mother almost always didn't have the means. And so I always remember these great people from around the Wharf area who saw something good in me and helped my mom to make sure that I attained my dream of becoming a lawyer, first of all, and serving the people of Grenada in other capacities. The community also engendered in us camaraderie, either through participating in the NJM Young Pioneer Movement in the community, or being the youngest member of the Music Society, or being part of Angel Harps, always something in the community, and in the church, the Roman Catholic Church. been an active member in the Legion of Mary and the youth group and other religious groups, including Crescendo Choir. All these things help to shape me as an individual. Service and helping people was always integral to my upbringing. And so it was a natural fit for me to become an advocate of the people through law, an advocate through teaching at the secondary level, teaching at TAMCC, teaching at UWI, and more recently, teaching at the St. George's University. But that wasn't enough. I've always had a passion for ensuring that people were treated fairly, justly, and that people who are in authority do what is right by those who are more vulnerable, the weaker ones. And that encouraged me to become very active in the martial arts and becoming the chief instructor of the Grenada Karate Federation and the national coach. I still hold that position, but I must confess, I don't get to do it much these days, Andre, because I guess bigger duty calls. But in the martial arts, you use martial arts to defend the weak, to build discipline, self-confidence, a sense of service and duty to others. And so, being an advocate for human rights, justice, democracy, the rule of law, all of these things come quite naturally to me because I always remember from where I came. And so I am very humbled, proud, and committed to working in this honorable house. Working in this honorable house, serving the people of Grenada, signals that I have now transitioned from being an advocate for change, an advocate for the people, to now being a maker of change and a real servant of the people, using this house, using my portfolios in the other arm of government, the executive arm, to ensure that real, meaningful, positive change is brought to the people of Grenada. The kind of change that will permanently lift up people, especially the people who are vulnerable. So I look forward, like my sister, Senator Douglas on the other side, I look forward to working with everyone, all Grenadians, no matter your political party preference, working with everyone in the interest of the people of Grenada, to whom much is given, not much, but a lot is expected. So I am here to serve, and Madam President, I look forward to working with all of you colleagues here in the Senate as we enact laws of the land that will truly move our country forward and upward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Joseph. It's good to know that the wharf is a village. And I can't resist telling you that Sister Gabrielle Mason and Sister Ann Keynes Douglas came from villages in St. Andrews. So the national village has been built by so many everywhere. What a wonderful, wonderful experience of our stories. Next, please. Thank you, Senator Nealon Franklin.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Madam President, we often end by saying thank you. But I would like to start off by expressing my gratitude, similarly as I've done to you for acknowledging me to rise and address this House. I say thank you to Almighty God for His guidance, His protection, and His grace. For without it, I would not be here today. I say thank you to my family and my friends who showed love, guidance, counsel, and support throughout my life, and most specifically now upon my appointment to this Honorable House. Thank you to the people of Brizan, who have all contributed to my growth and development every day for the last 24 years. Thank you to the people of St. George Northwest, who have made, and have been rather, a major pillar of support in my life, not just by way of an overwhelming support on my acceptance of this appointment, but throughout my entire life. I say thanks to them this morning, Madam President, and I give them the reassurance. I was born amongst them, I grew amongst them, I currently live with them, and I will never leave them. Thank you to Dr. Keith Mitchell and members and supporters of the New National Party for acknowledging the need to continue its efforts of ensuring that youth representation is ensured. I say thanks to them for seeing me as a worthy choice to augment the efforts of the party in ensuring its contribution in the balance of power and a thriving and ever-changing parliamentary democracy. To my former teachers at the Happy Roman Catholic School, the Grenada Boys Secondary School, lecturers at the T.A. Marischal Community College, and ironically, the Honourable Member mentioned Miss Louisa Chase Lewis, who was instrumental in my growth throughout the college. She has contributed to my life similarly to how she has contributed to the Honourable Senator Joseph. And I've singled her out specifically because of that. A powerful woman, a mighty woman, indeed a champion, a national hero, even to mention. To my lecturers currently and past at the St. George's University, I say thanks for their contribution in establishing and fortifying my academic foundation. Thank you to the young people across the Tri-Island who have given me and shown an overwhelming support for my acceptance to this honorable House. Thank you to the media workers I worked along with while I was at the Grenada Broadcasting Network, who expressed heartfelt love, support, which contributed significantly, Madam President, to who I am today. I am to remember Mr. Levi Benoit. The honourable member would know Mr. Benoit. He took me under his wing. I remember when I was leaving GBN to work at the Customs and Excise Division. That was the first time I saw Levi cry. And he passed too soon, I have to say. And I know that he'll be proud to see me here today, because he always said to me, where you are now is not where you're supposed to be. To everyone else in the media fraternity who has groomed me, shaped me, and contributed to my development, I say thanks to them. To the law enforcement men and women of the Customs and Excise Division, and also the Royal Grenada Police Force, specifically the Immigration Department, the Drug Squad Unit, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and the Prosecution Department, all of whom I worked along with in my capacity as a customs officer. I express my gratitude to them for reinforcing the principle of hard work and sacrifice, ensuring that no matter what happens, no matter the circumstances, country is always first. Madam President, I am no stranger to service, for at a very young age, I felt that my purpose in life would be service, and service to people through sacrifice. I stand here this morning having resigned a permanent job to accept the call to service. I do not regret this, because I have known from a very long time, that my purpose is service. Prior to my appointment to this Honorable House, I was a young customs officer who gave of myself daily alongside the other men and women, hard-working men and women of the division, to ensure that the country's revenue was collected, its borders were secured, and a vested interest in preserving our country's economic position. A testament of sacrifice to service, Madam President. My service to the state in my capacity as custom officer has ended. And now my service as a member of the legislature has begun. For I believe in representation, not of myself, but of others for whom their voices may not be heard. I give the reassurance that I will act as a vessel for their voices. Madam President, it is an honor to stand in this honorable House as the youngest currently sitting member of this House. I give my assurance that throughout my tenure in this honorable House, I intend to champion the cause for the young people across the Tri-Island, to be their voice, represent their collective interests, and to ensure that sustainable development is not just a nice term thrown around when we want a speech to sound fancy, but when used in this chamber, it is a reflection of genuine intent to ensure and secure the ability of the young people to live a fulfilling life now and in the time to come. I do intend also to fight, not physically, for the less fortunate amongst us. I grew up from humble beginnings in a single-parent household. I saw my mother work daily to ensure that her 3 children had at least the basics to ensuring that we live a decent life. I am a testament of her hard work, a product of her hard work, and the hard work of others like her will not go unforgotten or unseen. So I offer myself now as one who would champion the cause for other single mothers across the island, for people who grow up in circumstances like mine own, to ensure that they do not have to endure some of the things that I endured while growing up. And I say while growing up, not like I'm the oldest person here, but Madam President, I do intend to debate and engage my colleagues on the other side, not for sparring purposes, but so that the people's business remains our priority. And we will do what is best for the holistic development of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. I thank you.
I thank the Honourable Senator. Senator Quince Britton, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of this Honorable House, fellow citizens in the gallery, viewers and listeners, I rise here today to give thanks, first of all, to Almighty God for giving me the strength and the courage, the wisdom and the understanding. Because without Him, nothing is possible. Also, I rise here to bring you greetings from Sunset City in Victoria. Madam President, permit me to humbly declare today as Inauguration Day. You may wonder in what context that I speak of when I make such pronouncement, and I will briefly explain. Madam President, in the recent past, we've had representation in this Honorable House from Mr. Christopher Diali, his son of St. Mark. And today, we have representation from Senator the Honorable Salim Rahman, whose maternal roots is from St. Mark. However, on this auspicious day, Madam President, premiering here in the Senate, we have a born, bred, and residing senator from St. Mark, in your humble servant, Quince Britton. Madam President, as this inauguration unfolds, I hereby thank you profoundly for this opportunity to introduce myself, not just to the people of St. Mark, who probably I did not get a chance to meet during my short campaigning, but also to the people who possibly didn't take interest in who I am, or who did not have sufficient opportunity to learn about me in the heat of the recently held general election, including the diaspora. I am Quince Britton of Victoria, St. Mark, the son of working class parents, Fossil Charles, a teacher by profession, and she has been a teacher for the past 38 years. She is now the teacher in charge of the Victoria Preschool. And my dad, Sidney Britton, is a refrigeration technician in the United States. Madam President, my early education from pre-primary to secondary, all was achieved in St. Mark. So I'm a real son of the soil. Madam President, at age 12, I began developing a consciousness about my constituency of St. Mark and participating in its politics. Yes, at an early age, 12. In my interest in the region's development, I saw a natural gravitation to involvement in various academic, sporting, religious, cultural, and community groups and organizations that saw the continued implementation of our annual St. Mark's Day celebration and our monthly Sunset City Food Festival, among others. It is these character-building initiatives, and although vastly insufficient, that have molded me and solidified my continuously growth and interest in serving our nation. Madam President, with the strength of Almighty God and through the support and encouragement of my family, friends, community members, the call was answered earlier this year when I made the decision to step forward under the transformation agenda of the National Democratic Congress to seek for my fellow residents of the St. Mark constituency better living standards, improved health care, academic and skill-based opportunities, growth and expansion of our agriculture and fishing sectors, increased focus on our sporting and cultural ventures, better use of our natural resources, eco and community tourism, infrastructural development, business opportunities or business entrepreneurships, and much, much more, all geared towards breaking the cycle of poverty that have plagued the majority of the constituents. Madam President, although I was unsuccessful in winning the parliamentary seat, Madam President, thanks to the constituents of St. Mark and my hard-working campaign team, all other objectives were met, including that of a higher voter turnout and a significantly decrease in the gap in the vote count between myself and my then opponents. I acknowledge that this is just the beginning, and there's a lot more work to be done. In fact, there's a lot more work to be done throughout the tri-island state, and that it will take a collaborative approach to bring the all-inclusive transformational agenda to fruition, to which I pledge my commitment as a team player under the leadership of our distinguished Prime Minister, Honorable Dickon Mitchell. Madam President, it is with great honor, humility, and noticed privilege that I stand here proudly on this history-making inauguration day among my fellow senators who are new to this responsibility and among the experienced ones. Madam President, through you, I would like to recognize Senators the Honorable Nolan Cox, Andre Lewis, and Roderick Sinclair, and to say to them that I look forward to building capacity, growing capabilities, spirited debate, and wealth research recommendations with the public's interests, with the public's best interests at the forefront, and most of all, to learn from them, as they have the experience, so I expect them to lead by example. As a senator without specific portfolio, I plan to contribute towards every debate and to ensure that the best decisions are taken within these prestigious walls of this principal house, with Grenada at mind and at heart. Madam President, as leaders in this noble house, we must use these opportunities to serve, to improve the lives of all Grenadians. We must be people-focused always, through partnership with the people. As I close, Madam President, I would like to quote the great Oprah Winfrey. She said, and as I quote, "Leadership is about empathy. It's about having the ability to relate and to connect with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives," unquote. And so to my fellow residents of St. Mark, you have known me over the many years advocating on your behalf. Now that has to be translated into working together, building that partnership so that we all can help develop our constituency. So I look forward to your continued support. Let us work in harmony with each other to eradicate the scourge of poverty. Let us be involved in the decision-making process to improve our communities. Let us embrace the endless possibility that may exist and ensure that they bear fruits. Lastly, I implore on every resident, younger and older, to take note of this inauguration of a born, bred, and residing citizen from St. Mark constituency as a senator, and to ensure that this is not a one-off achievement, that St. Mark will be always represented fully in this house moving forward, and together we will make our mark in St. Mark. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Britton. Senator Andrew, Honorable Senator Andrew.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, honorable and distinguished members of this House, fellow Grenadians observing in this chamber, and Grenadians following on live feeds, both at home and in the diaspora, good morning. I am privileged, honored, and humbled to stand in this honorable house this morning to deliver this maiden address. I am privileged because God has kept me in the land of the living, and my life consists in Him. I am honored because I have been bestowed the opportunity to serve my country and my countrymen and the citizens of Grenada in one of this country's highest offices. I am humbled because I have been given the opportunity to shape the policies and the direction of my country at this time, for my children and for future generations. This at a time when I believe our country needed it most. It is my humble view that our country could not have continued in the direction it was heading. And so I am particularly delighted to be a part of this rescue mission and rescue team. Madam President, humility is not a strange word for me because I was born from very humble beginnings. I was born in the village of Ladigue, home to Senator Andre Lewis, home to guys like the Black Wizard, multiple Calypso Monarch champion, home to folks like the Maguires, and home to the great-grandparents and the grandparents of Malcolm X. My parents, Eversley and Selina Andrew, had 11 of us children in their lives together. And right now, my wife and I, of 22 years plus, we have 3 children of our own. And because of that, I give full credit to my parents for their job in raising us, all 11 of us. We are all alive and all contributing citizens to this country. I grew up with the luxury of having 5 brothers and 5 sisters. Madam President, I say luxury because this family configuration taught us out of necessity to be creative, to be cooperative, to be combative even, to be collaborative. We learned our own languages. We learned to share. We learned to develop our own codes. We learned to be resilient in that family structure. Madam President, my father was a farmer and a builder, a mason to be precise, and my mother was a homemaker. And God knows I could not ask for better parents. They may not have had all of the material things and riches that we wanted at the time, but they were rich in the fundamentals. We knew that we were loved. We had a regiment of good values, hard work, and education. We had a regiment of good values, hard work, and education. So even though there were days when the food was not enough, and even though there were days when, like our sister, Honorable Douglas, where we walked without shoe, and the shoes were not ideal, or they were the cheapest on the market, or we had to share clothing, hand-downs from those who were bigger and older, we made it. Thank God we made it. And so if there's any young person out there who can identify with the story that I've just shared, I want to encourage you out there, Madam Speaker, I want to encourage young people out there that they too can make it. As a student, I attended the Holy Innocent Anglican School at the primary level, a little school in the area of Ladigue. And at the secondary level, I attended the St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, a school that taught me roundedness. So I got to play cricket, I got to be house captain, I got to be a debater, I got to represent my school and represent Grenada from school, had a world of experiences. I got to be involved in the science club, I got to be president of that club, I got to be involved as the head prefect. And so I got a very rounded experience for which I'm very, very grateful even today. And then that followed with my education at the Grenada National College. It was then called the Grenada National College, now TAMCC. And then I followed with university studies at the Caribbean Nazarene College in Trinidad and Tobago. I started my work experience, Madam Speaker, as a secondary school teacher at the Grenville Secondary School, a place I spent 10 years teaching. And I taught areas like French, which I still speak fluently, science, history, English B, geography. In fact, I taught probably almost everything in my 10 years. But during that period, I served as the modern language head of department. I served as housemaster in athletics championships, debate coach. It was a most fascinating period of my life. I think one that shaped a lot of my foundational and key skills that have served me since. Within that time, I became a qualified teacher, pursuing the teacher training program jointly offered by the Grenada National College and the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus. I then left later to pursue studies in Trinidad and Tobago at the Caribbean Nazarene College and completed a Bachelor of Arts degree in General Studies with concentration in psychology. I completed same with the highest honor, summa cum laude. I went on to complete a master's degree in counseling, and that too I completed with honors, magna cum laude. I took the opportunity to gather much experience in Trinidad and Tobago, and so I worked with the government there for a while with schools as a guidance counselor. I worked as a psychologist to one of the leading employee assistance provider firms in Trinidad and Tobago, Elder Associates. I worked as a lecturer at the college in the areas of psychology, developmental and lifespan psychology and abnormal psychology, as well as interpersonal relations and conflict resolution. Key skills that still serve me very, very well and have served me in all of my journeys so far. Upon return to Grenada, after completing studies, I resumed my service in education as a guidance counselor to schools. Eventually, I became a school counseling supervisor, serving the districts of St. Andrew, partially, and all of St. David, District 4, giving clinical supervision to the counselors in that district with the Ministry of Education. I spent 10 years in that capacity. Then I was called upon to serve as the Chief Education Officer. I was appointed to serve as the Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education. Following which I served as the Director of Student Support Services, the Student Support Services Unit at the Ministry, which gives oversight to all of the counselors, the school feeding officers, the school attendance officers, and the student activities coordinator at the Ministry. All of these experiences have been very, very service-oriented, and I'm absolutely proud and pleased to have served in those capacities. My service wasn't only limited to inside the education sector, although I spent 28 plus years in the education service, from the classroom right to my last position before I retired earlier this year. But I was also involved in community service. And so working with sporting teams, be it by way of motivation, or developmental sessions with, be it footballers in St. Andrew, or the under-15 cricketers, or the under-19 teams, or probably even commentary in some of those games and sport meets. They've always been passions of mine. Or doing developmental sessions with some of the youth groups across the island. They've always been things that I've engaged in. Even playing music. In fact, I still play music, and I'm deeply involved in the music department of the church I currently attend. So community service is something that I've been always involved in. A couple of the things that have really stood out to me, two things that have stood out to me, Madam President, in my years of service. One, in 2010, I served as a French-speaking mental health service provider to Haitian survivors, French-speaking Haitian survivors of the then devastating 2010 Haitian earthquake. And even as we celebrate Mental Health Week this week, evident by the green corsage you see me wearing, I'm happy to have been a part of what was then a real global crisis. And that humbled me then, because I was a little boy from the back of La Digue who was able to feature with the skills that I received in the education system in Grenada to serve in a world crisis. That humbled me, and it's still one of my landmark achievements even to date. And then in 2017, I received the Clinical Network Award, which is given to an alumnus of the college where I studied. An alumnus who is adjudged to have positively impacted the helping profession and impacting the lives of others in his community most profoundly. And so from all across the region, submissions were made, and in 2017, I received that award. Something I treasure dearly. But Madam Speaker, my disclosures today is not so much to point out that I have achieved, because my achievement is in no way much greater than many persons. But it's more so to encourage and to inspire that young man, that young woman in Telescope, or that young person in Grenville, or Soubise, or Post Royal, or Marquis, or Hope, or Grand Bacolet, or Café, or Mama Can, or Crochet. It's to inspire those persons who feel things are not as ideal as I want them to be. I don't have as much money as I want. I don't have the ideal brands that I might like. I don't have the latest phone that I might want. And sometimes they value themselves simply based on the possession of these assets or the lack thereof. But my disclosure to this House, Madam Speaker, is more so to encourage and inspire those young persons, to let them know that they too, just like I came from humble beginnings, with material lack, they too can climb to positions of influence. They too can climb to positions of national, regional, and international acclaim. Madam Speaker, to this effect, I want to advance that education is the single most liberating, empowering, and transforming tool that they can look to. Even though things were tough, education was part of the regiment. And I'm sure all my colleagues here will affirm likewise. So education, I'm saying to young persons out there, is the single most empowering, transforming, and liberating tool they can have. Work is another important element. In that regiment, my parents taught, Madam Speaker, there were good values, hard work, and education. And so, Madam President, hard work. Work is important. The dignity of work must be emphasized. And if we are going to transform our fortunes, if we are going to transform this country, like we certainly intend to do, work has to be a big part of it. Finding it, keeping it, pursuing it meaningfully. And as a member of this House, Madam President, I commit to genuine quality service. I commit to working diligently in the interest of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, all of our citizens. I want to put on record my gratitude and thanks to those who have gone before us, those on whose shoulders we now stand, those who laid the foundation for us, that we are able to sit and stand in this honorable House today to debate, to discuss the business of this nation. And so I put on record sincerest appreciation to those who have gone before us. So as a member of this honorable House, Madam President, I commit to genuine service in the interest of this people, all of our people. I believe that if it is worth doing, Madam President, it's worth doing well. That's my commitment as a member of this House. I thank you.
I thank the Honorable Senator David Andrew, and I offer the floor to the Honorable Senator Adrian Thomas.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I rise to give my maiden speech, and I want to thank you for that opportunity. First of all, I want to say good morning to my colleagues in the Senate. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And I also want to say good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, and my friends and family in the diaspora, North America, Europe, or wherever you may be. I want to congratulate my senators, first and foremost, for accepting the appointment to be here. I think that this is a very important institution. I think we need it in Grenada. It's not a matter of wanting it, but it's a matter of needing it. And the House of Parliament can be the hub for the development of this country. Madam President, I want to establish here my political, what I call my political guide. And I've taken it from a very great author. His name is John Hagee. And he says, "The measure of a man's greatness is not the number of servants he has, but the number of people he serves." And I've adopted that as my political guidance for my political career. And Madam President, this is not a career that is started here today. It's a career that started a long, long, long time ago. Madam President, I stand here a very humble son of the soil. ready to serve the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique with a special eye for the farmers in this country. Madam President, I want to thank the Almighty God for having me here today, giving me the health and strength. I believe that He is very important in terms of guiding you throughout your life. And the work that you do, if you have His blessing, I believe that you will go places. I was born and bred in the parish of St. David, in a little village called Mount Tranquil, close to Vincennes, Windsor Forest area. Madam President, in my early days, we used to call this village Child Island. And the name speaks for itself. A lot of us. And a lot of us means that we had the opportunity to do all sorts of things. Play hide and seek, fishing, playing cricket, playing football, interacting. And a lot of other things maybe I would not speak of here today. And I can see the senator is laughing. Yes, that was part of it. Well, Madam President, I was born from two humble parents. At the age of 18, my mother delivered me. My father was only 17 years. And he didn't mean any harm. But when the news reached him, he couldn't settle. He didn't run away for long, but he couldn't settle. And I could understand that. Unfortunately, at the age of 4 years, my mother passed away. I was only 4, she was 22. And she had myself and my little sister at 2. I had the privilege of being taken up, I don't want to say adopted, by my great-grandmother. Her name was Darlene Bean. And I spent the next 13 years of my life, 9 years of my life with this lady. Whatever you see in me today is what she has instilled. And I've learned from every what appears to be bad cometh good. So I'm very grateful to her for what she has done in designing, modeling my life. And I may want to live with you. The reason why I want to serve, I can always remember her saying to her daughter, who was my grandmother, we were all in the house. 9 of us, nobody have a formal job. We all live on the farm. So that's why I'm very grateful for agriculture too. And from a little boy, I come right up to today, agriculture is very important, and I will encourage people to get involved in it. She always said to her daughter, cook enough, you never know who's going to pass. And as a matter of fact, when I share that story with a lot of my companions, they can associate themselves with it. And it means that this was the kind of lifestyle we had in the past. And we're going to need that lifestyle today. And if you don't want to practice, if you're not practicing it yet, practice it from now. Because Senator Lewis, when I pass by your home, you can't tell me you don't have food, nothing to eat. Put something in the pot. No meat. Well, we'll talk about it thereafter. I want to thank the National Democratic Congress for inviting me to be part of this team. This noble team, this noble institution. It was not an easy decision. When I was visited in my home by some good friends of mine, and I have no problem in calling their names today. People like Shane Ross, people like Nazim Buck, my good friend Peter David, Halim, those guys visited me and said to me, we are on a recruitment drive for the National Democratic Congress. I said to those guys, are the crazy ones? From our own party. That's part of NNP. I don't want to be part of that. But they came back. And they said to me, we are here to serve Grenada. We need your assistance. And I succumbed. And I joined the National Democratic Congress. I have no regret. And I will encourage people to join this party because it's a noble institution. And while I was involved in politics at an early age in regards to going to school and being part of during the revolution, we had the Student Council and the Student Vanguard and the militia and the CP and the NYU and all those organizations, I was part of it. And I'm proud that I got the opportunity to serve in those areas. So I really want to say thanks to the National Democratic Congress for accommodating me. I also want to say a heartfelt thank you to the Prime Minister, Honorable Dick Mitchell, for offering me a position in his cabinet, for putting the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry, Fisheries and Cooperatives into my hands. The confidence that he has displayed in me, Madam President, is quite a lot. And he's asking me to take up the responsibility to move this important sector. And as he has said, this sector has to be one of the main pillars of the new transformational economy that we want to bring in Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. Madam President, the people who have served this honorable house in the past, I had the opportunity to sit in the chamber and listen to them and learn from them. It's not everything that was discussed or debated here that I agree with, but the exposure is what I am grateful for. And to the people who sat there before, a heartfelt thank you to them. From 1984 come right up, I had the privilege of listening to people like Francis Alexis. I had the privilege of listening to people like George Brizan, Winty, as we call him, Honorable Ben Jones, Howard Blaze, former Prime Minister, and the list goes on and on up to today. I think we owe them quite a lot for preserving that democratic aspect of our community. And last but not least, I want to thank my family. Madam President, they had it rough and tough. And I must confess that they did not get the best of me. I could have done much more for my family. But I was always in a dilemma, wanting to serve country, wanting to serve people, and wanting to serve your family. And with due respect, sometimes the latter suffer. When I started to sing Calypso, I immediately started to be in the do the administrative work of the Calypso Association. And that took me around the island. It took me from tent to tent, practice session to practice session, going and going and going. And at the same time, I started my family. So here is a young family, a young, beautiful, talented wife with a young child in her arm. And I'm not there. At hindsight, I owe this lady a lot. Madam President, my 3 beautiful children, today they are grown up. And I remember during the COVID lockdown period, They used to tap me on my shoulder. You're not going anywhere today? You're home only tonight? And I smile. But the messages, they were taking notes. And today we can sit, I must say the COVID period gave me an opportunity to sit and mingle with my family more than any other time. And I learned quite a lot from that. So having said all of that and thank all these people, Madam President, why am I here standing in the Senate? I want to serve. Madam President,
it's okay.
My activities, my service in the community in the past, football, cricket, both players and administrator, scout. I had the opportunity to run 3 scout troops in St. David, First Vincent's as co-leader, First St. David's RC and First St. David's Secondary Scout Troops, serving people. As I said before, I was very active during the revolution in the youth groups. I taught for 2 years at the St. David's RC School. As soon as I finished secondary school, signed up to go to IFE in those days. This young man may not know about that. But
I do.
Nature's plan just couldn't take me there. And so the weekend before I was about to make my first day at the IFE, I got a call from a very distinguished principal. May her soul rest in peace. Sister Dawn Lett, the wife of former parliamentarian Dennis Lett. And in local parlance, they want a walkout. Madam President, I had no choice but to accept that job. And I taught for 2 years at that school until I realized, well, coming straight from secondary school and having to have children in your hand, you need to train. You need to be a trained teacher. I realized my shortcomings. And so I started to go to Teachers College. But it was not too long after that I was given the opportunity to obtain a scholarship and go to Trinidad, where I did agriculture. Having returned to Grenada, I spent 20 years in the Ministry of Agriculture as a plant protection, pest management officer. And then working along with quite a colleagues of lots of colleagues around my same age, I realized that I need to make some more progress. And I'm going to give you a story here. The little money I was working for could not have built a house, take care of family, buy a vehicle, and further your studies. Having trained in agriculture, I decided to go back to the land, and I started doing farming. I am happy to say today that my first degree in law and my master's in law was financed through farming. And I would not say I was a big commercial farmer, just subsistent farming in the backyard. And therefore I cannot turn my back on this very important subject. Feed yourself. I was feeding myself, and I had excess to feed others. Madam President, I consider this honorable house a golden opportunity to continue on that road of service. I encourage every senator to put country first. Madam President, I have experienced the good debates in this house. I have experienced the bad debates. I have experienced the greatness and the flaws. And I think we as senators have a golden opportunity to fix the elements that are wrong. It is not an easy task. We are under the microscope. The people are watching us. The people not only here, but in the region and in the wider community. And therefore, we must rise to the occasion and make sure that we correct the wrongs. And that so our children and our children's children can look upon us and see us as some form of inspiration, as my good friend just outlined. Madam President, it's a golden opportunity for we to advocate positiveness inside here. We must not be the architects of victimization and vindictiveness. We must not be the architects of corruption and favoritism. Discrimination must be pelted out the door. And therefore, I appeal to each one of us to take up our responsibility. Be the guiding light. Be the figure that the kids in school want to say, I want to be like Senator Lockhart. I want to be like Senator Quince. I want to be like Senator Andrew. And if we go in that direction, Madam President, I am sure that our country will be in a better position. And I want to ask every member of the Senate to please support the government in the transformational agenda. We have outlined what the transformational agenda is all about. You have listened. The people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique have listened. The people in the diaspora have listened. And the feedback that we are getting, it is a good program. It is a program that should be well executed, and Grenada will be in a better position. Our country will move forward. I wish all the senators the very best in their endeavors as we move forward as a nation. And before I leave, Madam President, I want to leave this little verse from Jeremiah 29:11 with the senators and the nation. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank Honorable Senator Adrian Thomas. We have come to the end of maiden addresses, it appears. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. You are a marvelous representation of our people, individually and all together. And our people's nobility this morning shone through you. Their nobility despite their many struggles. Struggles I heard of being immigrant, of being single parent, of what I would call split peas soup poverty. I didn't know split peas was a poor people's food. You know, we've been through as a people just an enormous range of disenfranchisement. And you this morning, your stories, your lives of service, you have honored them. Through your generosity to your parents, of which you all spoke, your gratitude to your mentors, of which you all spoke. And I think your main message that has come through to me is that you know something, you don't know a lot of other things, you feel deeply, you care more powerfully, you are resilient, your people from whence you came have been resilient and taught you that, and thus they prepared you for leadership today. That's what I heard from all of you who spoke altogether. And that your lives so far have been a great training ground for the arc of your service, which is ongoing, but is clearly at the pinnacle in the Senate. And thus it is a story of Grenada that has risen up from so much disadvantage, but so much grandeur. The story of faith, finance, and belief from the wharf, for example, from Child Island, where I worked as a volunteer. Stories from Ladigue that I know so well have all said to me, our people are grand. I wouldn't have imagined the depth. I see it every day in St. Andrews, and I come from that, and I know that. I know that. But to hear you each recite some version of that reminds me who Grenada really is, the capacity of overcoming. In my case, I'm a female. I'm a rural Grenadian in origin. I'm mostly cosmopolitan in experiences. I'm an older person. I'm revolutionary in my worldview. And I believe that in my heart, I'm a Democrat. I imagine that all of that and more would come to bear on my exercise as your chief servant in the Senate. Honorable members of the Senate, permit me then in my capacity as President of the Senate to welcome each of you and to wish you a highly successful tenure of service to our beloved Grenada. And I beg of you to work together as a legislating team. I am sure that our people, the ones you said sent you here, and our organizations support you and are happy to see you here. And indeed, so am I. So let us build trust as our most fundamental and abundant resource for this team. The immediate past president of the Senate is here with us today. A special welcome to you, Citizen Humphrey. And thank you for your decades of service in this institution and elsewhere. Thanks to all former Senate leaders, three of whom I also would like to put into the Hansard record by calling their names: Joan Purcell, Margaret Nichols, Leslie Ann Sion. And to all senators from our multi-island state and many parties. And finally, let me give a very warm welcome to the public in the chamber, there are a few, and all persons participating online, especially students, the media, the technicians and other workers. Thank you, and thanks to the diaspora viewing in. Honorable members, we are here to serve in the Senate, and it's an awesome responsibility and an equally awesome opportunity, as many of you have said. In preparation for today to preside over this honorable institution, I invited all honorable senators to meet with me one-on-one before this sitting. I wanted to get to know each of you and to let you get a sense of me so we can start the team building. Let me publicly thank all who came in amid your busy schedules. Some of you came with your families. All of you charged with enthusiasm and full of ideas. You all have helped and will continue to help shape the agenda of this first session of Grenada's 11th Parliament. Thank you. The invitation, of course, remains open to those of you who were not able to come in yet. In your own way, each of you helped answer the question that I posed, but has now been posed by the leader of government business in the Senate. Why are we here? One of you summed up our purpose for all of us when he said that he's in the Senate and we should be to do something good for Grenada. That's all he said. I want to do something good for Grenada. Another gave the suggestion that the Senate should educate the public more and get the citizenry to be more involved in governance. And still another advised that we should work closely with the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association to share the wider agenda that they pursue, for example, on climate change, on gender equality, on democratic institution building, and so on. All of you pledged to work hard, and I heard it again this morning. So thank you all. Honorable Senators, whether we represent the ruling party, the opposition party, or an interest group, we are here, as Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell told a reporter on the day of the ceremonial opening of Parliament on August 31st. And I remind us of that today. He said to put and to consider as a basic development priority the dignity of the Grenadian human being. There is such a person. I buy into that as a Grenadian and as a manager of the Senate process. I am sure you all do too. We have an opportunity in this House, this Senate House, to lift the dignity of each other as a public servant and of the country. So let us work and manage legislation toward that end, building up dignity to build up development. As we are starting our work now, in the month of October, may I remind us that this is a memorable month, nationally and internationally. On the national front, we will have a week-long recall and commemoration of the national disasters of October 1983. We continue to pray and work for the healing of our people, the building of our institutions, and the sustainable development of our country. Globally, this is Child Month, opened by Her Excellency Dame Cecile La Grenade, Governor General, just a few days ago. We in this Senate pledge to do our best in our homes, in our villages, in our churches, schools, and organizations to promote the theme, children's care and education matter. Let children grow, glow, and flourish. And as you spoke, I saw the child in each of you. Each of you took us back to your childhood. And I could envision it. I could envision going to school. I could envision sitting in a house with 11 brothers and sisters. I could envision a young teacher. I could envision it. I want you to know that the real deal is there with you every day. Help them grow, help them glow, and help them flourish. Elsewhere, I have issued a statement in which I have named a very painful experience that children have in their homes, sexual violence, particularly incest. And I have called then, and I call now for all of us, not just to work against it, but to fight against it. Let our children grow and glow and flourish. Today, or yesterday, I think was today is International Day of the Girl Child. It's now in its 10th year. It was put on the international agenda, by the way, by African mothers, the concept of the girl child. And we celebrate that today under the theme Our time is now, girls. Our rights and our future matter. Let us combine these pledges to children as a whole and to the girl child to care for, to protect, and to educate our girls so that they can find their true good selves and flourish. I want therefore to thank Michaela Charles and Tazia Charles of the Girl Guides of St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville, my alma mater, and to thank their ranger leader and teacher, Abby Jones, for coming by to celebrate Girls' Day with me 2 days ago, and to listen, to hold hands, and they had me jumping and eating ice cream, remembering my own girlhood. 3 generations of girls in an afternoon. Thank you, girls. October 5th was International Teachers' Day. On behalf of this Honorable Senate, I greet all teachers, past and present, and that includes parents, the first teachers of children. I salute you and I offer you a salute of gratitude and pride. Good teachers impart knowledge, but far better, a great teacher unleashes the innovation and creativity of his students and molds character in a young person. That's what a teacher does. Grenada teachers, continue to shine your light in our nation through the students you nurture and teach. October is Cancer Awareness Month, led by the Grenada Cancer Society. Many civil society organizations are mobilizing the public to raise awareness and to take active responsibility for a cancer-free, healthy population. Trade Union Week is this week, October 9 to 14th. Like the women's movement, this movement, the trade union movement, has given us the valued concept of solidarity. Solidarity between workers and solidarity so badly needed in a country for positive industrial growth. Solidarity is needed between worker and employer. This year, World Mental Health Day falls in October. Good mental health, as we heard from the minister yesterday, is yet another foundation pillar of a society, of a people of dignity. October 16th is World Food Day. Under the theme, under this year's theme, let us each contribute to domestic food security and to good health through the garden of healthy food. Let me repeat myself. We are here as a legislating team. So let us agree, as the Africans say, that we are sisters and brothers from different mothers only. The people of Grenada have agreed that they want transformation. We are here to be part of that. So let us get on with that work. Thank you for your indulgence. And I crave the indulgence of the Senate for a very short break, since we have had our long 2.5-hour spell. I intend to run a healthy institution. 5 minutes to compose ourselves for the next phase. Thank you.